Rain tapped softly against the diner's fogged windows, turning the neon lights outside into blurry streaks of red and blue. Inside, the air smelled of coffee, fried onions, and something warm enough to feel like safety. Conversations hummed in low tones, plates clinked, and a tired jukebox played an old song that no one was really listening to. The door creaked open. Cold air slipped in first, followed by a man in a worn jacket, moving carefully, deliberately. His left leg dragged slightly, supported by a metal brace that caught the light with every step. At his side walked a large German shepherd, alert and silent, its eyes scanning the room with a focus that felt almost human. A few people glanced up, then quickly looked away. The man paused just inside the entrance, as if measuring the distance between himself and the rest of the world. Then he took a breath and moved forward. The waitress noticed him immediately. She was young, maybe mid-20s, her hair tied back in a loose ponytail, a pencil tucked behind her ear. She had the kind of tired kindness that comes from long shifts and too many stories overheard. When their eyes met, she gave him a small, polite smile. He approached one of the booths near the window, but hesitated. It was already occupied, her section. "May I sit here?" he asked quietly. His voice was calm, steady, but there was something beneath it. Not weakness, not fear, something heavier, something earned. The waitress blinked, surprised by the question more than anything. "Of course," she said quickly. "Go ahead." He nodded once, as if grateful for more than just the seat, and slowly lowered himself into the booth. The dog settled beside him without a sound, positioning itself so it could watch both the man and the room. For a moment, everything returned to normal. Or at least, it tried to. The waitress grabbed a menu and walked over. "What can I get you?" "Just coffee," he said. "Black." She scribbled it down, then hesitated. "And for your dog?" "He's working," the man replied gently. "He won't need anything." She nodded, glancing at the dog again. There was something about it, still, controlled, like a coiled spring. Not aggressive, just ready. "All right," she said, forcing another smile. "I'll be right back." As she walked away, a man at the counter leaned toward his friend. "They shouldn't allow dogs in here," he muttered under his breath. The friend shrugged. "Probably some kind of service animal." "Still," the first man said, louder this time, "makes people uncomfortable." The former seal heard it. Of course he did, but he didn't react. Not outwardly. He simply wrapped his hands around the empty mug in front of him, as if remembering its warmth before it even arrived. The waitress returned with the coffee, setting it down carefully. "Here you go." "Thank you." Their eyes met again, and this time she noticed the scars. Not just the ones you could see, faint lines along his jaw, a small mark near his eyebrow, but the ones behind his eyes. The kind that don't fade. "You okay?" she asked softly, surprising even herself. He gave a faint smile. "I will be." And then, the dog's ears twitched. Its head snapped toward the door. Every muscle in its body tightened. The man noticed instantly. His hand dropped to the dog's back, not to restrain it, but to listen. "What is it, boy?" he murmured. The diner door burst open. A man stumbled inside, breathing hard, his hoodie soaked from the rain. His eyes darted around the room, wild, desperate. "Everyone stay where you are," he shouted, pulling something from his pocket. A gun. The diner froze, literally. Forks hovered midair. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the jukebox seemed to go silent, as if the world itself had decided to hold its breath. The waitress's heart slammed against her ribs. The former seal didn't move. Not yet. The gunman's hand shook as he pointed the weapon around the room. "I just need money. Nobody do anything stupid." The dog stood up slowly. A low growl rumbled from its chest. Not loud, but deep enough to be felt. The gunman's head snapped toward them. "Shut that dog up." The former seal's voice was calm. "He's just nervous." I said, shut it up. The growl didn't stop, that if anything, it grew steadier, more certain. The man's eyes narrowed. You think this is funny? No, the seal said quietly. I think you're scared. The words hit differently. Not like a challenge, like a truth. The gunman faltered for just a second. I'm not scared. You are. The seal continued, his voice still even. Your hands are shaking. You didn't plan this. You don't want to hurt anyone. Shut up. But his voice cracked. The dog took one step forward. The entire diner seemed to shrink around that movement. Don't. The waitress gasped. The seal didn't look away from the gunman. Easy, he whispered to the dog. But the dog wasn't looking at him. That it was watching the gun, tracking every tiny movement, waiting. The gunman raised the weapon higher, panic rising in his eyes. I said, shut it up, or I'll. He never finished the sentence. The dog moved, fast, faster than anyone could process. 1 second it was beside the booth. The next, it had lunged forward, knocking the gunman's arm upward. The shot fired into the ceiling with a deafening crack. Screams erupted. But the dog didn't stop. It twisted midair, clamping onto the man's sleeve, forcing him to the ground. The gun skidded across the floor. In the same instant, the former seal was on his feet, or as close to it as he could get. Pain flashed across his face as he moved, but he didn't hesitate. He grabbed the gun, kicked it away, and pinned the man's arm with a precision that spoke of years, decades, of training. Stay down, he said, his voice no longer soft, commanding. Final. The gunman struggled for a moment, then went still. The dog released its grip but stayed close, watching, ready to act again if needed. Silence fell over the diner, heavy, unbelieving. The waitress stood frozen, her hands trembling. Is it over? Someone whispered. The seal exhaled slowly. Yeah, he said. It's over. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance, growing louder. The dog returned to his side, sitting calmly as if nothing had happened. The man reached down, resting a hand on its head. Good boy, he murmured. The waitress stepped forward, her voice shaking. You saved us. He looked up at her, that same quiet expression returning. No, he said gently. He did. She glanced at the dog, then back at him. Still, she said, swallowing hard. Thank you. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she managed a small, tearful smile. Your coffee's getting cold. He glanced at the mug, then, unexpectedly, laughed. A soft, tired laugh that felt like it had been waiting a long time to come out. Guess I should drink it, he said. Outside, the sirens arrived. Inside, life slowly began to move again. But something had changed, not just fear, something deeper. Because for a brief moment, in a quiet roadside diner, people had seen what courage really looked like. Not loud, not reckless, but steady. And standing right beside a loyal K9 who refused to let the world fall apart.